Hello students, welcome to the new class of utilization and electric power. Hope all of you are doing well. And I believe you have all gone through the basics of the traction system, that particular video, the introduction of electric traction system, because this particular video is the continuation of that one. In that particular video, we have discussed about the speed time curve, the different types of speed time curve, and in this video, we are going to deduce the mathematical expression of different types of speed time curve. So if any one of you have missed that particular video, I will share I have shared the link of that one in the comment section, in the description section of this particular lecture video. So first, I request you go through that one, go through that video. If you feel any difficulties, first clear that, and next start this video, okay? Because you need to know first what is a speed time curve, what a speed time curve is, what are the requirement of speed time curve, and then we can study in detail, and then only we can have the interest to study the different simplified speed time curve and their mathematical deduction. So those who have already gone through that video, let us start today simplified speed time curve of traction system. So as we all know that speed time curve can be simplified in two types of curve. One is trapezoidal curve, another is quadrilateral speed time curve. So the first one that we are going to deal with is the trapezoidal curve. What is trapezoidal curve? In trapezoidal curve, a locomotive will have a free running portion whenever a locomotive is supposed to travel in a rural area. Whenever a locomotive is supposed to travel for long distance, it must have a free running section, and that comes under trapezoidal curve. So before we going to deduce the expression, let us have some variables where D will denote the distance between stop, M effective mass of the train, W effective weight, beta C retardation during coasting, but this particular will not be there in trapezoidal curve. VA, its average speed, T will be the total time for the run, FT tractive effort, M dead mass, W dead weight, alpha acceleration during starting, beta retardation during braking, Vm maximum speed, T1 time of acceleration. So let us first see the diagram. Yes, so this is the simplified trapezoidal curve where T1 is the acceleration time, T3 is the retardation time. So let me go there. T2 is the total time of run, and here T2 is T minus total time of run minus T1 plus T3. So T2 will be total time T minus T1 minus T3. So this is the trapezoidal speed time curve where 0 to A is denoting acceleration period. The time taken during acceleration is T1, and the maximum speed here is Vm. So the acceleration can be denoted by alpha, which is Vm by T1. Similarly, beta retardation periods, it's Vm by T3. So T1 and T3 can be denoted in terms of alpha and beta. It's Vm by alpha and Vm by beta. Okay. Now I have already told you earlier that speed time curve, the area under the speed time curve denotes the total distance traveled by a train. Now the total distance traveled by a train, here this total area is being divided into three different parts. See, here we can have a triangle OAD, it's a right angle triangle. Here also we can have a right angle triangle, triangle BEC, and a rectangle ABED. So these are the three types of area which the sum of which will give us the total distance traveled by the train. So D is the area OABC, and that is being divided into three types of area. Now for right angle triangle, we know that area is half base into altitude. So here base is time and height or altitude is the velocity, maximum velocity. Similar here also for this triangle BEC, base is time and height is VM, maximum velocity. So half Vm into T1 and here half Vm into T3. It representing two areas of the triangle, two triangles. Now come to the mid part. This is a rectangle. So for rectangle, the area will be base into height, right? So base is time T2 and height is maximum velocity Vm. So it has been written over here Vm into T2. Now we are having the value of T1, T2 and T3 in terms of alpha, beta. So in place of T2, we are first representing it in terms of T1 and T3. So Vm into T minus T1 plus T3. And next, in place of T1 and T3, we are representing that in or replacing that in terms of Vm by alpha and Vm by beta. And by replacing that, the terms become like Vm into T minus Vm by 2, 1 by alpha into 1 plus 1 by beta. Now this particular term, half into 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta is representing by K. So the equation becomes like this, and by from Sridhar-Charjah theorem, we can have the value of Vm, right? So ultimately the value of the equation becomes Vm equals Kvm squared equals Kvm squared minus Vmt plus d equal to 0, where K equals to 1 by alpha plus 1 by half into 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta. Now, in your exam, depending upon the question, we need to solve this type of problem, right? A numerical from trapezoidal peak time curve will definitely come. Now, what I suggest you, here you can see a very different types of equation they have given, right? But I suggest you to remember only the basic equation, because it will not be possible for you to remember the whole equations in your exam. So just remember for typical speed time curve, in trapezoidal speed time curve, the equation is, the standard equation is Kvm squared minus Vmt plus d equal to 0, where d is the total distance traveled, t is the total time, Vm is the maximum velocity, and k is a constant whose value is half into 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta, where alpha and beta are acceleration and retardation constant. Okay, so this is trapezoidal speed time curve. Next, quadrilateral speed time curve. Same, the values, the variables that we are denoting by in trapezoidal speed time curve are same for quadrilateral speed time curve. So let us directly go to the diagram. Yes, so this is quadrilateral speed time curve. Quadrilateral speed time curve is mainly suitable for rural type areas. Quadrilateral speed time curve, we don't have any free running system. Sorry, quadrilateral speed time curve is mainly suitable for urban areas or suburban areas where free running is not possible, where distance between two stops are very much lesser according in respect to trapezoidal speed time curve. Here, a locomotive will have only three periods. One is acceleration, which is from 0 to D. 0 to it's denoting 0 to O to A. Time duration T1. Next is posting period A to B. Time duration T2, and the last part is B to C. It's breaking period. Time duration T3. So these three are the three different periods of quadrilateral peak time curve. So again, we are denoting T time in terms of alpha beta. So T1 will be V1 by alpha. T2 it will be V1 minus V2 divided by beta C, and third is T3, it's V2 by beta. Here there is some printing mistake. T2 will be V1 minus V2 divided by beta C, and T3 will be V2 by beta. Again the same concept, area, we have to calculate the total area under the curve. This total area will describe the total distance traveled by a locomotive. Here the total area is being divided into different parts. The first part is the triangle OAD. The next part is the quadrilateral ABED, and the third part is the triangle BEC. So in a case of area OAD, it's half base into altitude, so half base, half into T1 into V1. For the second part, for this quadrilateral, the area will be T2 into its height, it will be V1 plus V2 by 2. And for the third part, half V2 into T3. Again, they are taking T2, T1 common, and they are representing T2 in terms of T1 and T3. So T2 is being replaced by T minus T2 is total time period minus T1 minus T3. So T2 is again replacing by T1 and T3. Now in place of T1 and T3, we are replacing V1 by alpha and V2 by beta. And from this, we are having this equation. So by just a minute. So here also K, the value of K will be half of 1 by alpha into 1 by beta. So here I will suggest you to keep in mind the equation D equals to half T into V1 plus V2 minus K V1 into V2. Now here in semester exam, what is happening actually, mainly the numericals come from trapezoidal peak time curve, and the derivation of quadrilateral peak time curve they will ask you to derive. So you have to solve mainly numerical based on trapezoidal peak time curve, but there is no mentioning that no question will come from quadrilateral peak time curve numerical. So we have to practice, we will practice both, but we will keep emphasis on trapezoidal speed time curve. So these are the basic two types of speed time curve that a locomotive can have, that a locomotive can be applied according to the distance it's supposed to travel. One is trapezoidal whenever there is free running, and one is quadrilateral whenever there is no free running, but there is posting and braking period. Next, according to your syllabus, this is the next part. It's mechanics of train movement. It's related to the mechanical aspects of construction that will affect a train movement. So before this picture, let us first look what is being told over here. Essential driving mechanism of an electric locomotive is shown in figure. Here, this is the transmission of tractive effort. Now, the armature of the driving motor has a pinion of diameter d dash. This is the armature of the traction motor, the smaller circle. It has a diameter of d dash. The tractive effort at the edge of the pinion is transferred to the driving wheel by means of gear wheel. So this is the driving wheel. The larger circle is the driving wheel. The outermost is the road wheel, whose diameter is capital D, and the inner cycle is the gear wheel. Now, the tractive effort that is being generated in the motor, the torque that is generated in the motor, right? And that particular torque is transferred to the road wheel by the terms of gear wheel. See here, the pinion of the motor and the gear wheel is being attached, is being connected. So from armature of the motor, the torque or the tractive effort that's being transferred to the motor with the help of this gear wheel. Okay. Now what is the amount of torque that is being generated? Let the driving motor exert a torque of T Newton meter. Tractive effort at the edge of pinion is given by the equation. So this is the tractive effort. F equals to eta F dash small d by capital D. Small d is the diameter of the gear wheel and capital D is the diameter of the road wheel. Now what is eta? This is transmission efficiency. I'll come it later. Tractive effort at the edge of pinion is given by the equation T equals to F dash into D dash by 2, or F dash will be replaced by 2T by D dash. And tractive effort transferred to driving wheel is eta into F dash small d by capital D, where D is the diameter of gear wheel, capital D is diameter of road wheel or driving wheel, and eta is the efficiency of transmission. Here small t by small d dash, it is the gear ratio and it is represented by gamma. So the total equation of tractive effort transferred to driving wheel, it can be represented by eta into capital T into 2 gamma by capital D. The maximum frictional force between the driving wheel and the track, it's mu into W. Well, now what is mu? In our first video, in the one of the slide, we have studied about coefficient of adhesion, right? Now this mu is the coefficient of adhesion between the driving wheel and the track, and W is the weight of the train on the driving axle, called adhesive weight. Suppose, now what is coefficient of adhesion? This coefficient of adhesion will determine whether the tractive motor or the locomotive will slip from the track or not, will get slipped or not. How? Because it will determine the total adhesive weight. It will determine the total effort, the total force that can be exerted by the locomotive and that can be taken by the track. So particular, this coefficient of adhesion should be very much higher for any locomotive efficiency point of view. So the maximum frictional force between the driving wheel and the track is denoted by mu W, where mu is the coefficient of adhesion between the driving wheel and the track, and W is the weight of the train on the driving axle. Slipping will not take place unless tractive effort F is greater than mu W. For motion of train without slipping, tractive effort should be less than or at most equal to mu W, but in no case greater than it. So this is the funda that we can say that the total tractive effort F, that will be much more higher than mu W, or at most it can be equal to mu W to avoid the slipping of the tractive motors or the locomotives. Now, tractive effort for propulsion of train. Suppose in our India only, there are different kinds of land type. Some part is hilly area, some part is ground, some part is just downwards. So in different types, a locomotive will feel or will exert different types of force. So depending upon that, the effective force necessary to propel the train at the wheels of locomotive is called the tractive effort. It's tangential to the driving wheels and measured in Newton. So this is effective force. Now total effective force on a run to run a train on track, that can be equal to the sum of tractive effort required for linear and angular acceleration, tractive effort to overcome the effect of gravity, and tractive effort to overcome the train resistance. So these three are being represented by FG, FA, FG and FR respectively, and total tractive effort is being represented by FT. So FT will be sum of FA plus minus FG plus FR. Now why plus minus FG? Because whenever the motion is to the gravity, the motion is in the to the direction of gravity, it will be plus. Whenever the motion is opposite to the gravity, it will be minus. Now tractive effort for acceleration, FA. We are going to calculate FA. According to the laws of dynamics, force is required to accelerate the motion of the body and is given by force. We all know mass into acceleration. Now suppose a weight of a train is W ton. So it will be W 1000 ton being accelerated at alpha kilometer per hour per second. Now the weight of train is 1000 W kgf. Mass of train is 1000 W kg. Acceleration alpha kilometer per hour per second. Now we are converting kilometer per hour per second to meter per second square. So it will be alpha into 1000 divided by 3600 meter per second square. So tractive effort will become mass into acceleration. Mass is 1000 into W and acceleration is 0.2778 alpha. So FA, the first part of tractive effort, FA, it will be 277.8 W into alpha Newton. This is the tractive effort for alpha acceleration. So whenever if we know the weight of the train, if we know the acceleration of the train, we can calculate what will be the tractive effort exerted for acceleration. With the linear acceleration of the train, the rotating part of the train, such as wheel and motor, also accelerate in an angular direction, and therefore the tractive effort required is equal to the arithmetic sum of tractive effort required to have the angular acceleration of rotating part and tractive effort required to have the linear acceleration. The tractive effort required to have the angular acceleration depends upon the individual weight, radius of gyration, etc. of the rotating part requiring angular acceleration. Hence, the equivalent or accelerating weight of the train is taken as WE, which is higher than the dead weight W, requiring linear acceleration to consider the tractive effort for the angular acceleration. In practice, WE is higher than W by 8 to 15%. The normal value lies between 10 and 12%. Hence, tractive effort required for acceleration is FA, which is equals to 277.8 WE alpha Newton. Next, tractive effort for overcoming the effect of gravity. When a train is on a slope, as we can see in the picture, a force of gravity equal to the component of dead weight along the slope acts on the train and tends to cause its motion down the gradient or slope. Hence, the force due to gradient, it will be 1000 W sin theta kg. But in railway work, gradient is expressed as rise in meter in a track distance of 100 meter and is denoted by percentage gradient. How much gradient is it's measured in terms of in a track of distance 100 meters. So G will be, percentage of G will be sine theta into 100, or sine theta will be G by 100. So in equation of Fg, if we substitute the value of sine theta, it will be Fg equal to 1000 into W into G by 100. So it becomes 10 Wg. Now the value of G is 9.81. Replace that and Fg becomes 98.1 Wg. When the train is going up a gradient, the tractive effort will be required to balance this force due to gradient, but while it's going down, the force will add to the tractive effort. So for upward direction, the Fg will be minus, and for downward direction, Fg will be plus. Last one, tractive effort for overcoming train resistance. It consists of all forces resistance the motion of a train when it's running at uniform speed on a straight and level track. Under these circumstances, the whole of the energy output from the driving axle is expended against train resistance. Now, the train resistance may be due to the friction at the various parts, friction at the track, and air resistance. The first two components consist of mechanical resistance. The train resistance depends upon various factors such as shape, size, condition, and is expressed in Newton per ton of the dead weight. For the normal train, the value of specific resistance has been 40 to 70 Newton per ton. The general equation, it is K1 plus K2V plus K3V square, where V is the speed, R is the resistance, and K1, K2, K3, these are the constant depending upon the term. This will be given in your problem. No worry about that. The first two terms represent the mechanical resistance and the last term represent the air resistance. So tractive effort due to the train resistance, it will be Fr equals to W into R. So total tractive effort, it will be the sum of these three, again positive sign for upward motion and negative sign for downward motion. Now the power output. Power output is the tractive effort into distance divided by time. So tractive effort into speed. Tractive effort is Ft and into speed V in 1000 by 3600 because V is being converted from kilometer per hour to meter per second. So total power output, it will be Ft into V by 3600 kilowatt. Now specific factors affecting specific energy consumption of an electric train operating on a given scheduled speed. What are the factors that are affecting? These are distance between, the factors will be same that was affecting the scheduled speed. That is the distance between stop, the acceleration, retardation, maximum speed. The new one is nature of the route and the type of train equipment. So these are the factors that are going to affect specific energy consumption of an electric train operating on a given scheduled speed. Now specific energy output will be given by this equation. Just go through this equation. You don't need to derive this. You just keep this in your mind. It clearly shows that specific energy consumption, it depends upon the maximum velocity, that is Vm, the distance traveled by the train while power is on. S1, this is the specific resistance R, gradient will be G, and distance between stops. Greater the distance between stop, lesser will be the specific energy consumption. For a given run at a given scheduled speed, greater the value of acceleration, retardation, more will be the period of posting, and therefore lesser the period during which power is on. The same concept that we have studied in factors affecting scheduled speed, the same one. So typical values of specific energy consumption are for suburban services, it's 50 to 75 watt-hour per ton kilometer, and for mainline service, it will be 20 to 30 watt-hour per ton kilometer. So see here in mainline service, that means the distances are far more than suburban service. So the higher the motor runs, it will be the energy consumption will be lower. So this is a point that here we have noticed, right? So this was all about simplified speed time curve. This was all about mechanics of train movement. This was all about tractive effort. The three different parts, but the three important parts of traction system we have covered in this video. The lecture we will in our next video we will consider the numerical part of these three. So first you go through this video once, it will not be enough, so go through this video more than once, and just have the equations. Just don't try to remember all the equations, just have the concept so that you can derive that in your exam. After that we will discuss about different mathematical problem, different numericals on this particular section. So thank you once again for seeing this. Hope you will understand, and if you find any difficulties, share that in the comment section. Thank you.